Hi everyone, today we're going to be talking about Java classes. So what is a Java class? A Java class is a way to represent a physical or abstract thing in Java. Classes contain three main components. They contain instance variables, constructors, and methods. So how are we going to declare a class in Java? There are three main components to a class declaration in Java. There's the first one, which is public, which don't worry about what this is for now. We're going to get to it later. It's about accessibility of this class, but for now, don't worry about it. Just use public. Then there's class to tell Java that you're declaring a new class. And then there's the name of the class, which we're going to call my class for this slide. It could really be named anything, but we're just going to use my class. And traditionally, you're going to make it uppercase, just like so. So the first part of a class that we're going to talk about is the instance variable. And instance variables help you model attributes, physical or not, of an object. And they don't necessarily need to be something that changes. They could be something that stays the same all the time, or maybe not. For example, for a car, possible instance variables when you model that as a Java class could be that car's make, model, year, or the number of passengers inside. And notice that the first three are stuff that doesn't change for a car, and the last one does change all the time. So it really doesn't need to be anything specifically changing or not changing. How do we declare an instance variable in Java? Within the larger class, public class car, like we did just now, you're going to indent, and for every variable you're going to use private. And don't worry about what this means. Again, it's about access, but just use private, just like we use public for classes. And then you're going to declare the type of the car. So for example, string or int. And so for example, string make, string model, string int year, and int number of passengers. And variables cannot have spaces in between them or dashes in between them, but they can have generally other alphanumeric characters as long as they don't start with a number. The next part we're going to be talking about is the constructor. The constructor sets up a class with some initial conditions. Example car initial conditions could be the make being Toyota, model being Corolla, year being 1997, and the number of passengers inside being 0. And a constructor can have the user set any combination of these that they want to. They can have the user set all of these. They can have a user set only the make, model, and year. They could have the user set only the make, model, and the number of passengers inside. And we can write as many constructors as we want to be able to fill that. In Java, we call this overloaded constructors. We can have 3 constructors having the user set a different combination of these values. So here is the first constructor declaration that we're going to be talking about. Notice how we go public. Again, don't worry about this, but use public for constructors, car, which is the name of the class, and it's going to be uppercase, just like the name of the class does. Then you're going to specify each of the variables that you want to set. So for example, string my make, and again, you have to declare the type of it each time. String my model, again, declare the type, and int my year, again, declare the type. And these could really be named anything that you want to name them. It could be named string potato, for example. But it really doesn't matter, but just for the sake of clarity, we're going to be using my make, my model, my year. And that's not a bad convention to adopt when you write Java code. And then we're going to set make equals my make, and again, this equals means assignment. So you have the value on the left, make, which is the instance variable, take on the value of the right, which is my make, which is what the user feeds in. Same thing, model equals my model, year equals my year, and number of passengers equals 0. So we set this for the user. The user doesn't specify what number of passengers inside are going to be. So now how do we use a constructor now that we've declared it? You're going to go car, which is the name of the class, car, which is the name of the car. This could be really anything. This could be called Toyota, for example, equals new car. So again, set car equals this whole statement. That's what the equals is doing. And notice that this car and this car are the same. The name of the class and the name of the class, they have to be the same in most cases. We'll get to cases where that doesn't necessarily need to be true later on, but for now, just do that. And so we have car equals new car, open parentheses, you specify the make, specify the model, specify the year, exactly in that order. And we can also have a second type of constructor declaration, and it's called an overloaded constructor. So again, you have to do public car, and here we only declare the make and model. You don't declare the year, you don't have the user specify the year, only the make and the model, and we just assume 1997, for example. So you have make equals my make, again, because specified, model equals my model, again, because specified, and then you assume year equals 1997 for all cars that are created, and number of passengers equals 0 for all cars that are created. So we're assuming a default year with the user not specifying it. So for example, car equals new car just as before, and now you only declare the make and you only declare the model, no year here, because there are only two of these here, the make and the model. The next major aspect that we're going to be discussing is methods. Methods are used to modify or report class properties. So what does that mean? They can change the state of some instance variable, or they can tell you what the value of an instance variable is. So something that modifies is called a getter, and something that reports is called a setter. And there are certainly other kinds of methods, but these are the most important ones that we're going to be talking about. So for our car, we can have a method that reports the make, model, and year of that car, which is a getter. And we can have a method that increases or decreases the number of passengers, which is a setter. Methods can return a value, a type, such as an int, a boolean, or a string. And we'll get to that means in the next slide. But it doesn't also necessarily need to return, which we use void. So what exactly does this mean? So we have two methods here. One that increments the number of passengers called inc passengers, and one that tells you what the make of the car is, which is get make. Inc passengers is a setter, and get make is a getter. And so void means you don't return anything. There's no return statement here, whereas string means you return a string, which is make, the instance variable make, which is a string. With void, you don't use a return statement, but you can do other things, such as, for example, set a variable to something else. So, for example, num passengers equals num passengers plus 1. Obviously, this is not a mathematically valid statement, but the single equals in Java means set. So you're going to set num passengers to num passengers plus 1, or changing it from 0 to 1, for example, or 1 to 2, or 2 to 3, or anything like that. Note that in Java and most other programming languages, there are shortcuts to doing this. You can do num passengers plus equals 1, or you can do num passengers plus plus. And both of those work. So again, we're going to declare our car class to be able to use our car, and then we're going to call car.getMake to get the make of the car, and then you can go and do system.out.println to print that to the console, and we expect to see Toyota since that's what we created the class with. And note the way of declaring a method: public void, which is the return type, and then the name of the method. Methods can also take variables just like constructors did, and use that to set properties of the instance variable. Here we just don't have anything that does that, but certainly that's possible, and that's widely used within Java and other programming languages. The main method is a special kind of method. We can call it almost the brain of a class because it controls execution of our program. Execution starts in the main method, which can call a constructor or methods. The main method is declared like so: public static void main string args. And don't worry about what this means for now, but that's the way we declare main methods in Java for any kind of class. Again, you can call the constructor. You can do stuff with the car now, for example. So that's how we use a main method. Putting it all together, here is almost our entire class declaration. Here's where we open the class with the public class car. And here are each of our instance variables, the make, model, year, and number of passengers. Here are each of our methods, the increment passengers method and the get make method, and our main method like we showed you in the last slide, where you create a new 1997 Toyota Corolla as our example car, and then you print the car's make, which we expect to return Toyota. And that's pretty much how you create a class in Java to represent something physical, or maybe not even physical, something abstract. Thank you, and I hope you learned something.